When I look at Aunt Jemima, my mouth does not water for the sweet, smooth syrup that drapes over my Sunday morning pancakes. In fact, the syrup is not sweet at all. As it coats my tongue, I taste only bitterness because all I can see is this. And when I watch Dumbo, I can't sing along gleefully to When I See an Elephant Fly because of its striking similarity to this. And I can no longer linger in my nostalgia of childhood literature without being reminded of this. How do images, caricatures so outwardly degrading, transform to labels no one even blinks an eye at? This is a common theme within Black oppression, the subtle transition of anti-Black and outward displays of white superiority to muted tones of systemic racism. Oftentimes in school, the only Black history we are taught is slavery and segregation. However, the horrors of these events are quickly refuted with the fact that they ended. To slavery, abolition. To segregation, the Civil Rights Act. And of course, to all injustice, the first Black president. But did the problems really end, or did they simply change forms? In the very same classroom that teaches racism as a past wrong, Black students are targeted for being loud, disrespectful, incompetent, ghetto, and essentially every other demeaning term in the book. By forcing degrading and dehumanizing labels onto us, our non-Black counterparts place us in a state of inferiority, promoting themselves onto a pedestal of perfection, of which the school system only works to enforce. Apparently, saying Lincoln has done more for the Black community than most Blacks could ever do helps some feel justified in spitting out racial slurs in casual conversation. Apparently, saying someone is civil for a Black person helps some feel secure in their beliefs that Black people are inherently savage-like. Apparently, saying that we need a white student union helps some play victim, even though they don't need a club to feel safe in their own school. What happens when these prejudiced thoughts transpire into tangible discrimination? The school system plays an integral role in funneling dysfunctional students into prison, but our meaning of dysfunctional has been distorted with negative stereotypes placed on Black people by non-Black students, causing more teachers to single out Black students in an environment meant to be sacred for learning. From the very beginning of their childhood education, Black students are always treated as the disturbance in the classroom. Whether they're the class clown or the troublemaker, Black children are caricatured for simply existing. It is these caricatures that were around when Aunt Jemima chained Black women to stereotypes of anger and hypersexuality, when Jim Crow barred Black men from being viewed as educated and sophisticated, and when little Black Sambo arrested Black children's dreams of achieving happiness and success. Picture this. On his first day freshman year, Darius walks into school and is immediately slammed with barren white walls. Despite the harshness of the stone blocks surrounding him, Darius walks cheerfully down the hallway, excited to begin learning about world history in his first hour. But as he walks, his stride begins to shorten, and his smile slowly fades off of his face as he sees the intimidating stares of his peers that have already established their friendships for the year. With his nerves increasing, Darius puts up a barrier between him and the rest of the world, his hood. With his hood up, he's ready to tackle learning about the exciting culture of the Mesopotamians. When he walks into class, he greets the teacher with a smile, but without even acknowledging his existence, the teacher tells him to take off his hood. And being a timid little freshman, he does. But as the days roll on, and the schoolwork piles up, and the test scores start to drop, Darius returns to his safe space under his hood. Except this time, when the teacher tells him to take it off, he doesn't. And after disobeying the teacher's instructions, Darius gets written up. A couple of months later, the school suspends Darius for more behavioral issues, reinforcing Darius's distrust once again. Since education obviously did not want him, he resorted to gangs and drugs, landing him in a juvenile detention facility. You would think this would deter him from continuing in criminal activity. But when he returned to school, he was met with heavy surveillance from his teachers and looked at with a menacing eye from his classmates. Why would he continue going to a school that viewed him as a threat rather than a person? As Darius's association with crime elevated, he weaved in and out of local jails until he was sentenced to 40 years in prison. In the end, Darius did commit a crime and lawfully should serve time in prison. Some might even say that the justice system is good because it rid the streets of a dangerous gang member. And to that I might agree. I might agree selling drugs is a crime. I might agree threatening someone at gunpoint is a crime. I think we all would. But it is foolish to refute that the school isn't a part of the problem. Beginning in schools with inadequate resources, underperforming students are pushed out of the classroom in order to increase overall test scores and save on expensive resources. With established incentives to push students out, schools adopt zero-tolerance policies, treating any level of infraction with the same harsh punishment. As a result, suspension rates have nearly doubled from the 1970s to the 2000s. The school-to-prison pipeline's use of harsh disciplinary action turns Black students from the schools to the streets, where they are more likely to delve into criminal activity as a means of survival. How can we claim to promote inclusion and investment in our students if we solve the perceived disobedience by pushing Black students out of a classroom and into a prison cell? In order to solve the problem as a community, we must treat Black students as exactly what they are. Not delinquents, not threats, not criminals, but disciples, eager to lead as they have been led, intellectuals, prepared to tell as they have been told, and scholars, ready to teach as they have been taught. And maybe then, we'll be able to taste the sweet syrup, sing along gleefully to wonderful musical soundtracks, and linger in our nostalgia of childhood memories. Thank you.